Did you know that TikTok comments show up differently on the same video for you and me and anybody based on what I interact with or engage with on the platform?
Is there racism against these Chinese businesses?
I'm sure there's definitely some questionable things around ethics and how these businesses are run, the labor, the sourcing of ingredients or raw materials. There's no way that they can have this much revenue with margin and do this profitably at the prices they sell without doing something wrong.
Why are there so many email marketing agencies and no agencies saying, hey, I'm going to help you bring this into Europe and sell it on Amazon? Nick, you and I always talk about 3PLs and our poor experience with them. I want to talk about one that people are having a really good experience with. It's called Red Stag Fulfillment. It's owned and operated by e-commerce entrepreneurs. They're spectacular. They have 3 guarantees: 0 shrink, 0 mispacks, 0 missed shipments. In 2024, year to date, they have 99.993% accuracy across inbound inventory, order accuracy, and on-time shipping. That's 99.993%. That actually blows my mind. If you want to learn more, go to redstag.com/limited. Once again, that's redstag.com/limited. Nick, this is episode 6 of season 8. We're making some progress on this season. Summer's begun. It's official. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. One is TikTok Live. The next is I want to talk a little bit about racism against Chinese companies, particularly Shein, Temu, and TikTok, and then some international expansion ideas. And I have one business idea to talk to about, or that I want to chat about with you too. But why don't we start with TikTok Live, if that works for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this came from something of just being a consumer on TikTok. But a few months ago, TikTok Shop really stormed the feeds. You'd open TikTok and, it used to be you would open TikTok, Amazon or something like that would buy the full entire first video you see, or basically the full screen. And then you swipe out of that. A lot of times it was focused on entertainment. So a new TV show, a new movie, trailer. And it was felt like a very native format for more traditional commercials to play within TikTok. It's like right as you open and then you get to your content. Now it's like you open the app, you see a normal TikTok first, and then immediately you're met with live streams and TikTok shopping TikToks and sponsored ads almost immediately. Out of maybe the first 10 swipes, 6 of them are either a product, TikTok product that's being sold, or a sponsored ad. And so that was one interesting thing. And that actually drove me personally to stop using the app so much. I switched over to Shorts because I found that there's no ads there, at least right now. And it's just content. It knows what I like on YouTube anyways. Then more recently, getting back on TikTok, all I see are live streams that are just pushing individual products. And it's very weird, like what works. I spoke to an agency that does TikTok Shop as a service. And basically what they said is products between $15 and $35 are essentially the entire market of TikTok Shop. Like that is where people go to shop. Those are the AOVs that actually convert. Then you open lives and it's like the entire live stream is a camera pointed at a Mary Ruth organic product. Or this past weekend, it was just Memorial Day weekend, Liquid IV launched a popsicle collab with Liquid IV. It's like the camera is entirely pointed at a bag of Liquid IV. It's got 4,000 concurrent live viewers, and these guys are selling, I don't know how much they're selling, but you click on the bag for Liquid IV of a product that just came out. It sold 26,000 through TikTok Shop. The sugar-free version has, I think, sold like a quarter of that. And it's been fascinating to me that for years, live commerce has tried to break in to this market, really with no success. And all of a sudden now, it's completely gone to the other side, which is it's not even like somebody who's talking to the camera and doing a QVC style live stream and then showing the product and selling it. It's literally just focused on the product like the entire time. You don't even see anybody. And there's somebody in the back just talking kind of as a voiceover, answering questions. Have you seen this style of TikToks or live streams, or am I on a weird side of TikTok?
I'm not sure what's on your TikTok, but very, very little of that. I would say that I'm surprised to hear that that's, I guess I'm surprised about a few things. I didn't understand the format you're talking about, but let's start with making that clear for everyone. The format you're saying is a camera pointed at a product with somebody speaking about the product, no people in the shot, but just a voiceover of the like product benefits. Is that correct?
Exactly.
First, I wonder why that, like, do people hurt performance now? Is it better to not have people, or is it just easier? You're just like, look, I'm a guy sitting in Pakistan and I can sell liquid IV or whatever other product I want, and I don't need to hire somebody. I can just talk myself. I wonder why that's the case.
I think it's a combination of both. I think like part of it is part of it, it's like, it's so much easier. I mean, you could wake up, not even shower, turn the live stream on and just point the camera and talk.
Why do you think Liquid IV would do this? Like Liquid IV is a huge business. Like they're running a TikTok shop where there's just it seems so like they're trying to build a brand. They are a brand. They're trying to build that brand much larger. And all of a sudden they're like, you know what we're willing to do is just point a camera at stick a Liquid IV and have some guy talk about its benefits. It seems a little not on brand for those larger organizations.
Yeah. In fact, the one commonality between the brands that are doing this, so 4 companies come to mind that I kind of always see. One is Halara, which we talked about previously, Liquid IV, Mary Ruth's, and the other one, which we've also talked about, is Guru Nanda. And basically all 4 of these are brands that have crazy amounts of brand awareness, and they're all in that AOV sweet spot. And they're all things that are fairly easy to show before and after, or problem solution, or sort of address a problem that people have.
They don't show before and afters. It's just a product shot.
It's just a product shot. But you can kind of speak to that. I think the other thing that's interesting is they, like, I don't think it's Liquid IV that's going out and saying, all right, guys, this weekend, we need to really maximize I don't know that, somebody at Liquid IV is saying that this is what they want to do. I think a lot of it was like, hey, let's put this bid up for an affiliate commission we can offer and a potential discount. And then all of a sudden these creators grab they're just seeking what are the deals that they can put out or talk about. And, I think when I looked at Liquid IV, it might've been like for every pack that sells, I'm making $5 or $6. For higher AOV price points or for higher price points, you can make like $20, $30 per product sold.
Okay. All right. So here's another thing that I just realized that you're saying is the person doing this is an affiliate. It's not actually Liquid IV. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And this is also this specific piece of it is what just got replicated to YouTube, which is, and I think they're pushing it more than just the shop piece, which is, we're going to build out this whole affiliate network amongst YouTube creators and Shopify stores where if there's a good match, then they'll jump on and be able to easily just integrate to your catalog and start promoting what they want.
Yeah, Facebook is supposed to do that in the second half of this year as well. That's great. I love that. Like, I love making it easier for brands and influencers to communicate and engage with each other and pay each other, the brand to pay the affiliate in an easier way, right? Like no coupon code. Some of those don't get tracked correctly. No link. Can't even do that in half the on Instagram. Make it so that it's easier for us to pay the affiliates what they deserve to be paid. But that's so it's surprising. I wonder if like Liquid IV, like Guru Nanda, I can understand this happening. I wonder if Liquid IV and Mary Ruth Organics are embracing this, or they're like, we haven't realized this is happening. Because Liquid IV is currently offering 15% commission.
Like if I sign up and say I want to promote it, they'll give me 15% of every sale I drive. So off a $25 pack, they'll give me $4 for every $25 pack I sell.
Yeah, that is so little. I'm shocked that like people are willing to do that. Like, I'm also surprised. Liquid IV. Let's not use Liquid IV because they're owned by Unilever. Let's use another example. Let's use native deodorant. Why not? I'm paying Facebook 30 to 45% or 30 to 40% CAC. Why am I only ready to pay an affiliate 15% or 10%? Why are those things not 40%, 50%? Like, I'm surprised that Liquid IV's isn't higher. I'm also surprised that the live, I guess the live stream makes sense because it doesn't cost the guy anything. He just has something pointed at somewhere. He doesn't have to produce a bunch of videos and a bunch of it's just like, I'm doing this. God, I wonder if that works. You can just point something at a stick of deodorant and just start talking about it. Like you're on QVC, costs nothing to produce. TikTok is really leaning into live, so they're going to get it. They're going to be like, let's push this really hard.
Yeah, it looks like Mary Ruth's definitely is leaning in because so their other products have 2,000 products sold, 1,000 sold, a couple hundred. This one, which is their hair growth product that I remember David speaking about, that is going to be huge for them. They've sold 42,000 on TikTok Shop, and they're offering a 20% commission. So for every unit sold, they'll pay me $11 if I want to promote it. And the other thing that they'll do that most brands who are doing well on TikTok Shop are also doing is they'll send creators a free sample, whereas most brands make you buy that first product before you go and start creating content around it.
Will it hurt Mary Ruth Organics brand to see a bunch of TikTok live guys being like, here's us promoting this product, or it won't hurt their brand, you think?
I don't think it will, only because I think it comes off to the consumer as an affiliate play, or that it's not being done by the brand. It's kind of being done like a reseller. Honestly, this feels like the modern day Tupperware party to me. Like, this is the modern day version of somebody has decided to take your brand into their hands and try to resell it. I do think it depending on how big like social commerce gets, it'll definitely have an impact on the Amazon business or maybe the retail business if it gets big enough. But as far as like brand reputation, I don't think it hurts the brand at all. If anything, I think it just adds more and more social proof to click on a live and see somebody is staring at a liquid IV bag and there's 1,400 people who are staring at that. I think only shows more strength to the brand.
Okay, here's where I disagree with you. I think it does hurt the brand, and I think it hurts it materially. Instead of like Liquid IV being this brand that's about rehydration or hangovers or, working out or whatever it is, it's now like, it just reminds me, I'm like, is this a Temu brand? Like, it just feels so cheap, especially if, unless the guy has made a really beautiful spot for him to showcase his Liquid IV and talks about it in a way that's really interesting, where he's like, I love Liquid IV. It's so good. I use it when I go to the gym afterwards, or if I'm hungover. Or is it like, it just sounds very drop shipper. It sounds like it's a drop shipper selling a product now. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, if I saw that product at Target, I'd be like, oh, that's the brand that's on like TikTok selling in a really shady way. I want to avoid this. So I think it actually is a detriment to the brand. I don't know how to balance. Like, if I was Guru Nanda, I might keep it up. If I was a drop shipper, I might keep it up. If I was Mary Ruth Organics with an end cap at Whole Foods, I'd be like, this is not going to be good. 2 years, like, I go to Whole Foods, I'm like, I see this brand on TikTok, and then I go to Whole Foods and I see it. I'm like, those two are, which is ironic because our next segment is about racism against Chinese companies. Those two are opposites in my mind. Like, Whole Foods and, Temu are opposites in my mind. But, the problem is it moves units. So who might like complain?
Totally.
Okay, well, I think that's really interesting. Are you seeing the shop as the first thing that loads now? You're like, when you load TikTok, it's the first thing that loads. I'm sorry, the live stream is the first thing that loads?
It's within the first three.
Okay.
So I think, honestly, one interesting thing I discovered this weekend through another TikTok video, to your question, it's in top 3 for me. It's probably because I always click in to, especially if it's showing a product, I'm like, what are the people asking? How many people are watching? Are they showing are they calling out how fast sales are going out? For you, it might not be. The other thing I realized is, did you know that TikTok comments show up differently on the same video for you and me and anybody based on what I interact with or engage with on the platform? So for example, if it's a video of, just to keep it simple, coffee, you might see comments that speak to your coffee preferences. And I might see comments, if I don't drink coffee or if I hate coffee, I'll see comments that talk about how coffee sucks, whereas you might see something different. So I think even that whole feed of how they get you engaged is part of their science for this app. Is definitely, how do we get you so sucked in till you get into a hole that you don't want to get out of?
That's really amazing. Like, early on when I was at Native, I was trying to Google, look on YouTube videos of people who are like reviewing deodorants, and I'd always try and comment. And I was like, how do I like hack these comments? I'm like, oh, you should try native deodorant. I'm like, why is this not number one? Like, how do I get this to number one? And I was like, okay, is it just most likes? Like, can I go on Upwork or get some guy in India to get 20,000 YouTube accounts and just like my thing the most? And it's like a sophisticated algorithm with comments on YouTube as well. It's not that, I don't think it's that sophisticated where we'd see different ones, but it's sophisticated enough where it's not like easy to just hack. Making it like individual to the person is even smarter because it's really impossible to hack.
Yeah, the other thing they do, which I've noticed, is they'll put anybody you follow or you're friends with, they'll prioritize that. So if you're friends with somebody and they commented, meaning they follow you back, that's number one. People you follow are number two, and then it's all the viral comments that are associated, that are like for your demo.
That makes a lot of sense.
Nick, you and I always talk about our poor experience with 3PLs. I want to talk about a 3PL that people are actually having a great experience with. It's called a Red Stag Fulfillment. It's owned and operated by e-commerce entrepreneurs. It's not VC backed. And the crazy part is they don't say yes to everybody like every other 3PL. They say no to most people. They won't work with you if you're an apparel company or a company with thousands of different SKUs. Their goal is to provide the best fulfillment experience for brands where Red Stag Fulfillment and you are a mutual fit, which is really amazing. They're backed by 3 performance guarantees, 0 shrink, 0 mispacks, 0 missed shipments. If they miss one of those guarantees, they fix it at no cost to you, and they pay you $50 per instance for the inconvenience. So if you're doing $1 million or $2 million a year, Red Stag Fulfillment's probably not for you, but if you're doing 3, 4, or 5, you should really reach out to them. You can go to redstag.com/limited to learn more. Once again, that's redstag.com/limited.
Okay, I want to talk about Shein, Temu, and TikTok.
Let's do it.
And basically, these are the 3 large Chinese businesses that have grown up over the past decade or so and have really made a huge impact in the United States recently. Obviously, we're talking about TikTok. It's huge. People are spending billions of dollars on ads. The shop is huge. I think we talked about how the shop does like $17 billion or so a year, or their goal is to do $17 billion a year this year in GMV. And you know how the US government is trying to ban TikTok. And then the same thing is sort of happening with Shein, where Shein, a lot of government officials are objecting to Shein and its dominance in the United States, its environmental impact, where they source their cotton. And I wonder how you think about it, because I guess I'm trying to understand, is this something that the US should be doing or not doing? And is this racism against Chinese companies? Shein, I was reading this article about the Shein chairman, okay? He lives in Washington, D.C. He's 61 years old. He's an American citizen. He came to the United States in 1982 to follow his girlfriend. And he was like 14 years old or something when he got here. Shein, and Shein isn't when people are talking about TikTok and they're like, should we ban TikTok? I can understand a little bit of I don't agree that we should ban them, but I can understand where people are coming from and saying, hey, look, this is a national security threat. It's on everyone's phones. It can influence opinion. But Shein sells clothing. And people are like, hey, is Shein a national security threat? Like, is there racism against these Chinese businesses, I guess? That's why I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I feel like from a policy standpoint, if anything, they're the most favored in like they're sending packages in, they're not getting charged any taxes or tariffs. They have this incredible line of products coming in that like we're basically getting ripped off on, I think, to some degree. Like our country's not making any revenue as a result of that. I don't know like the specifics of the businesses, but like I'm sure there's definitely some questionable things around ethics and how these businesses are run, the labor, the sourcing of ingredients or raw materials. There's no way that they can have this much revenue with margin and do this profitably at the prices they sell without doing something wrong, is my opinion. But that said, I think also the inverse effects that Temu, for example, has brought just by flooding the market with advertising and also just competing with other companies here that are trying to sell products. I'm always a fan of like favoring American companies or American-made brands, products, etc. But I don't know the full details of what the government's trying to do to stop Shein or Temu.
Yeah, Fair enough. I mean, it does get complicated into a lot of policy. I'm trying to understand, and like I respect that it should be a policy debate. It just feels I'll give you an example. The Shein one is about cotton and where they source their cotton. Like, does their cotton come from this area where they like prosecute or persecute Muslims in China, and they're like, cotton from this, like they basically do terrible things to these people and they make them get cotton. And so the United States is like, we don't want any products that source their cotton from there. I understand there's a very valid policy debate about, that sorts of thing, that cotton and how terrible it is and human rights violations. That I get. It just seems like anytime we see a big Chinese company now, we're like national security, national security, national security in a way that I'm not sure makes sense to me. Let's get into Nike. Does Nike source any of the cotton from that province? Does anybody else? I'd be shocked. Yeah. So this article is basically like they tested the cotton from Shein clothing, and about 2% of their cotton comes from this area where you're not supposed to get cotton. Industry standard is 15%. 15% of cotton gets sourced from this. And it's really hard, right? Because like, imagine if you're like buying a raw ingredient like cotton. How do you know where you got, if I buy cotton from somebody, how do I know where they picked the plant to get the cotton? That seems really difficult.
Yeah.
When I buy a coffee bag that says Pete's Coffee, I'm not like, yeah, this is farmed by slave labor. I can't tell. It's just like coffee beans to me. Right. So I think there is a valid like policy debate. It just feels like to me we're going after big Chinese companies because big Chinese companies are starting to do really well in the United States and are figuring out how to market. Like, how about Amazon? Half of Amazon sellers are Chinese businesses selling their products on Amazon and making like a pretty crappy version of something. We seem to be okay with that because there's an Amazon label at the front and it's an American company and not a Chinese company. I don't know. I guess I was curious to hear your feelings towards that and whether it was like clear to everybody or maybe I'm just getting that feeling.
No, I think the way you position it makes sense. Like even thinking about iPhone production or Nike's clothing production,
that's right.
Like there's got to be things. Yeah, the way you frame it makes it a lot more interesting. And I do think, I think like those logos at the front definitely dictate a lot of that. Also probably like where the ownership lies or like, how much is the government benefiting from the ownership or from that company? I'm sure that plays some role in it too. Also, I just think in general, like China intelligence and the fact that China's so big, I think it is maybe the most comparable economy to the US. I don't know if that's right. I didn't go to college.
But too, yeah.
Yeah, I think like the US probably is always just trying to like eliminate liabilities or threats or future liabilities and threats.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally see your point there.
Okay, let's move on and talk about another thing that has to do with not China, but the rest of the world, which is expanding businesses outside the United States. Mm-hmm. So in Q1 2024, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I feel like most businesses are not thinking about international sales enough in a way that is really detrimental to them. And I think it's even beyond, like the easiest one to think of is Canada. I remember Canada should be around 10% of the size of the United States. That's basically the way I think about it is it's probably about 10% of the population, 10% of the economy. It should be 10% of the United States' size. But like most brands, like they'll suffer and work so hard to make their business better in the United States instead of bringing it to other countries, even beyond Canada. Australia, UK, Germany, Japan. They're just like, okay, US. Our CACs are getting high. We've saturated audiences. We're going to launch new products. We're going to send out more emails. We're going to do everything we need to do. We're going to do everything we can to increase sales in the United States, but only thinking about the United States. Even when the CAC is getting high, they're just like, how do we figure this out in the United States? The number one thing you can do is expand internationally in order to alleviate that CAC pressure. And I want to talk about it because I think not enough brands are doing it. Shopify in Q1 2024, they said they grew entirely, like as a business, 23% overall. But in Europe, they grew more than 36%, which makes me think that in the United States, they grew less than 20%, although I'm not positive about that. I'm just like, okay, Europe is driving your sales. Then I saw this Twitter thread by the guys who run Simple Modern. And they're like, they wrote the following countries, equal 91% of Amazon US traffic. Europe is 54% of Amazon US traffic. Japan is 24% of US Amazon traffic. Canada is 7%. Why do you think this is so such an untapped market?
I think logistics. I think the logistics on the supply side, like how do you, let's say you're a cookware brand. Or let's say you're selling mouth tape, right? Your hostage tape or Skinny Confidential. To go international is probably very easy because logistics wise, your weight of the product is super light and it's very easy to ship something. I think as soon as you get to maybe a heavier product, you have to start, like even with Hint. With Hint, whenever we talk about international expansion, it was like, okay, we have to set up a whole separate supply chain in the UK or somewhere in Europe to then service the European market. Hexclad or Caraway or, Barabee, like these products that sell bigger, bulkier items, I think they also have to think about that too, which is like, we can't just ship international freight. We've got to think about what is it that we can do from a logistics standpoint to make it much easier.
Yeah, I see. I get your feedback on that, Nick. Like it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we got to get. I think the logistics is the number one answer, and I think like it can get hard. For instance, if you sell into Canada and you're a personal care brand, you have to translate a bunch of your ingredients into French because
Sure.
that's the law in Canada. But I think if you're a Hexclad, it's much if you're a Hexclad, I don't know where they make their products. If I had to guess, it would be China. If they're making it in China and delivering it on a container to the United States, can't they have it delivered in a container to Japan? Can't they have it delivered in a container to Europe and taken directly to the Amazon facility? Like it seems crazy that in the United States they can get it done, but they can't in they can't in Europe. And Europe is such a huge prize. It's half the if you're Hexclad and doing $400 million a year, Europe is $200 million a year. Like it is a massive, massive prize.
Yeah. I think the other thought too is like there is the option of if you have a brand that's done well in the US, you can decide, do you want to play the distributor game? Like do you want to get into Dubai through a distributor who says, yo, I'm going to take 10%, but I have all the retailers here and I can easily get it in anywhere? Or do you want to take the e-commerce and direct to consumer route, which is you just got to get fulfillment, logistics, returns set up, and maybe localized customer service, and then activate e-commerce, which is I think what we see most brands do.
Is there room for business to be built and say, hey, look, you don't want, I don't have the retailers in Dubai, but you want to get an Amazon Europe. I will do that for you. Either I'll charge you a huge upfront cost or I'll charge you 10% of revenue for the first 2 years. And I'll take, and I'll help you with logistics, legal importation, tariffs, duties, getting the containers over, storage, customer support. Is there room for a business? Like, why are there so many Amazon agencies? Why are there so many email marketing agencies and no agencies saying, hey, I'm going to help you bring this into Europe and sell it on Amazon?
Yeah.
Or are there? And I'm not aware of them.
No, there definitely are companies. Like there's one I know of in Dubai, stationed in Dubai, called Caliber Brands. And they essentially, what they do is like they'll identify brands. So like one that they brought a while back was NutriBullet. They'll bring that to Dubai and understand the sell-through and then try to figure out, okay, do we continue blasting this? Or in their case, they ended up also developing a couple of brands alongside what they saw working well. So they created NutriCook, which was an air fryer business that they launched themselves after seeing the success of NutriBullet and other air fryers being successful. So there are companies that do this, but I do think that like the layer between a successful brand in the US and executing this internationally, I think there's room in between, which is like, hey, who can be the quarterback that can come in, help with the playbook, the strategy of how this goes down, know all the partners and the players, understand what is favorable pricing, what's not favorable pricing, what are good terms, what are bad terms. Basically, how do I not get fucked as I try to do this? And I think that could be a service that people offer, because there are the companies that do it. There's also companies that help you facilitate, cross-border commerce or shipping internationally, but there's no one in the middle between somebody who knows how to run a brand in the US and somebody international who says, you're either, this is a really good deal or you're getting fucked and this is how I would change it so that it protects you as a business. I think that's the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's the opportunity as well. And I hope those businesses start and thrive, because I think that'd be really helpful. Like, there's so much opportunity in Amazon. Like, UK, Australia, and Canada are easy because they're English speaking. You can kind of ship to them from the United
Even
States.
New Zealand.
If you do small enough volume, like, I don't know what the laws are, but like, doing small volume, it's not going to be a big deal. Getting into Amazon Europe is a heavy lift, but probably worth it if it's 50% of the United States, which blows my mind. It seems crazy that more people aren't taking advantage of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to, one last thing I want to talk about was a business idea that I have. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts because I'm not sure if it's the smartest business idea I've ever had or the worst business idea I've ever had, which is, a lot of America's on Ozempic or Trulicity or Mounjaro or, one of these GLP-1s. Why is there no AG1 for Ozempic? You're on Ozempic. You need special, like, how come there aren't businesses built around Ozempic now? Like if I were starting a new business today, I'd be like, I'm going to cater to one, they're wealthy. Two, they're women and women shop. Like I hate selling to men. Three, these women are spending $1,000 a month to be skinny. Or like, look, a lot of them are spending it to like, for diabetes, and I have all the respect in the world. And if you're doing it to lose weight, that's okay too. But like, why, do they need nutrients? Do they need like special nutrients because they're not consuming as much? Like, I'll give you a personal example. My mother started taking one of these because she's a diabetic. And she takes it every Friday, and on like Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, she's not very hungry. And by Thursday, she's like, this isn't working. I'm starving now. She's like, this stuff doesn't work. And I'm like, yeah, it's been 6 days. That's why you're hungry again. Do these people need special nutrients? And do these people need special supplements? Like, can there be an Ozempic supplement line? Can there be an AG1 for people on Ozempic? Can there be, whatever it is for people? Like, what do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I feel like usually what happens is once there's this big phenomenon, like the next wave of it is the products that work within that newly created category. I'd be surprised if a ton of supplement brands this year, especially going into the new year, don't release variations of their product that work hand in hand with Ozempic or something like it. I also think your idea is perfect. Somebody should come out and say, AG1 for people who are on Ozempic, or colostrum or collagen or whatever, all these things that we're already selling, just rename it for Ozempic and maybe add a couple of things that help supplement nutrients that they're not maybe getting because they're not eating as much, or it's just an entirely new formula. But I think that concept makes a lot of sense. And it's also like you've got the market created. You've just got, and we already know they're going to spend a lot of money. Why not add to it?
Yeah, I think the vitamin deficiency is probably the biggest thing to play to, which is like you're on Ozempic, you are going to be missing vitamins by not eating as frequently. In particular, like I think like Ozempic, like these like the semaglutides, they will cause a lot of constipation. I'm shocked that there's not an Ozempic meets Metamucil combination, like Metamucil for Ozempic, like whatever
Flush
it is.
those pipes.
That's right. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised that no one's created it. And I think that there's a huge opportunity to create that type of business.
Maybe we'll call it Flush with a PH.
Wow. Okay. You like PHs, huh?
Yeah.
That's actually scientific. A great name. That's a great name. Okay. Fantastic. I think that's going to be a wrap for episode 6. This is episode 6. Yeah. This was fantastic.
We're going to miss you. I know you're traveling. We're going to miss you today at Commerce Summit in New York. So I'll take some notes today. It's today. Yeah, we're going to miss you. And I really thought you were going to be here, but you're not. So I'll take a bunch of notes. And for next week's episode, we can run through some of those notes and interesting things. I'm excited because Harley's going to speak to open it. And then there's a bunch of really good panels and whatnot. So I'll bring all the goodies.
Are you moderating any of the panels?
No, I'm just an attendee here.
Okay, awesome. Wow, that's so great to like not have to be like, okay, I've got to prepare my stuff. And so I can really pay attention to what's going on. Commerce Summit is, I think, in my opinion, one of the 2 or 3 best events of the year when it comes to e-commerce. The guys who put it on are really phenomenal.
Yeah, they put on a great event. And this year's the first year they allowed, they sold, I think, less than, I don't know, double digits of tickets, but they allowed other people who are not invite only to come in. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes up the room. Last year, it was so intimate and invite only, which made it amazing. This year, I think, is also going to be just as amazing.
There's a fulfill.io happy hour tonight. Like, tonight, I guess, after the event. Are you going to that?
I will be there. It's actually, it happened last night because this episode's coming out Wednesday. So it happened last night, but yeah, I was there and I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to it.
Sweet. All right, guys.
All right,
We'll see you
thanks,
next episode.
Have fun, Nick. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on.